Hey guys, how you doing? Okay, so last video I showed you how to use a pictorial representation to add two fractions together that have uncommon denominators. Today I'm going to show you the tried and true standard algorithm way of doing the same thing, but give you the 3 or 4 steps that I usually give my students. Now let's say for example that your fraction is going to be 2/5 plus 3/4. So you have 2/5 plus 3/4. So I'm going to have these two fractions I want to add together. First thing I'm going to do, and I always tell my kids, write them vertically. I just find it a little bit easier this way. 2/5 plus 3/4. I like to work in this sense. I like to teach kids this, gives them a good idea. I just like the linearity of it. Don't even know if that's a word. But anyway, regardless. Next, I noticed that my denominators are not the same. When my denominators are not the same, it becomes a problem. It's a lot more difficult to add these numbers together natively. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a common denominator. And to find a common denominator, we're going to find the LCM, or the least common multiple. And there's a couple different ways to do this. The way that I prefer is taking out my Mr. T chart. And on my Mr. T chart, what I'm going to do is, over here, I'm going to take one denominator, 5. And on the other side, I'm going to take my other denominator, the 4. And I'm going to write out the multiples of 5 and the multiples of 4. I always start off with the first 5. So again, I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then for 4, I'm going to do 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. And now I'm going to look for the least common multiple, the smallest number that they all have in common. And I notice right away that it's 20. Now, if I don't find that in the first 5, I'm going to go on to the next 5 and proceed so on. But typically, you don't need to go too far to find the least common multiple. Well, now that I know the least common multiple is 20, I'm going to make that my new denominator. And what I'm going to do next is find equivalent fractions. Now, I know 4 to 20. When I'm making my equivalent fractions, to go from 4 to 20, I'm going to multiply 4 by 5. And the general rule when creating an equivalent fraction and equivalent fraction is if I'm going to do something to the denominator, I have to do it to the numerator in order to keep everything equal. So I'm going to multiply my numerator by 5 as well. 3 times 5, 15. Next, 5 times 4 makes 20. So up top, 2 times 4 makes 8. My new numerator. What I do here now is the final step. I'm going to add them together. I know I'm working with 20ths, so I'm going to keep my denominator 20ths, and then I'm going to add 8 plus 15, which is going to give me 23. Now, we can leave it at 23 20ths, but we started with a proper fraction, so I think it's only right that we end with them as well. So I'm going to convert this improper fraction, and I know it's improper because my numerator is larger than my denominator, and I'm going to convert it to a mixed number. I know 20 goes into 23 one time, and then I know the difference between is going to be 3 left over and 20. So my answer is going to be 1 3/20. Now that's just one way. There are other ways to go about it. There's other ways to find the equivalent fractions, but I'll go over that another time. Anyway, for now, I hope all this was helpful, and I'll see you again soon.